Everybody, it has been some time. We are back. It is Thursday night. It is 8 p.m. It is our season premiere. And we are so glad you're here for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. Of course, we got to talk about the Royal Rumble because it's Royal Rumble season and folks are in their feelings about it. So we'll get into that. We're going to talk about 1 month into Raw on Netflix, how the Netflix era is going. And WWE Evolve is coming to Tubi, of all places. All that and more, folks. Get ready. We are back. We are ready, and we are loaded. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need, that Big Gold Belt.
Hello, everyone. We are so glad you're here with us tonight for our Season 5. Yes, indeed. Season 5 premiere of the Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. We are back from our winter break that we take every January, and we are ready to get back to it with everything that's going on in professional wrestling. Thank you for being with us here tonight. Like I said, Season 5, Episode 1 going down tonight. So we are keeping the train rolling as always. I'm Will up here in the top right of your screen. Below me is Damian G down in the Lone Star State. To the left of him, the Giant Crab Jamal. And across from me on the top left is Silly Celis. Gentlemen, it has been a few weeks. I hope everyone had a good break. How are you all doing tonight?
I'm fighting whatever this cold is that's going around.
We're here.
There's definitely seasonal things going around. I was battling something about a week ago, and I got over it. And then my wife had something this week, and she got over it. So it is that time of year. It's that time to have the hand sanitizer out and all that sort of stuff. So I hope folks that went to Indianapolis this weekend made it back in one piece. They might be
the Rumble flu. Yeah, no, exactly. The Rumble flu is a thing. Well, you know that. You know that.
Oh, yes. We know about that from those WrestleManias and all this. You get that many wrestling fans together in one place, these stadium shows, people usually have some after effects. So correct. I hope people are okay and hanging in there tonight as we start February here. But let's get to it, folks, because we have been gone for a month. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. So get ready. This past weekend, of course, Saturday night, the Royal Rumble, emanating from Indianapolis, the biggest Royal Rumble of all time as far as like crowd size goes, nearly 70,000 people up in there for a crazy night of stuff. You know, the traditional kickoff to WrestleMania season. In a lot of ways, as we talked about before our break, I think WrestleMania season kicked off this year with the Netflix move, but we'll talk about that later. Royal Rumble in and of itself, of course, all about the Rumbles, all about the Women's Rumble, all about the Men's Rumble. There were 2 other matches on there, the tag titles, whatever. Hell of a world title match between Cody and Kevin Owens. But let's get down to brass tacks. The 2 Rumbles, you had the Women's Rumble open the show, the Men's Rumble to close it out. And the biggest talking point I saw coming out of this thing, and I'm so seeing people talking about it today. I don't even know where to go with this, but did the right wrestlers win the Royal Rumble? Because some folks are in their damn feelings about these folks, because folks ain't happy about Charlotte returning and getting put into the title picture. And then, goddamn, if people are not in their feelings about Jey Uso winning the Men's Rumble. So, Celis, I see you smiling there. I'm going to go to you first. Feelings on our Royal Rumble winners as we kick the show off here tonight.
So, for me, I would say one of the big things is like, you have one that was expected and one that was like, interesting. And sometimes when you have predicted winners, you think, okay, as long as the storyline makes sense or where they're going to lead to for WrestleMania, sure. So I'll start with Charlotte first. I think that was literally the only person that you could win, even though we're not in favor of winning. I think the people didn't like it. For those that didn't, it's because Charlotte didn't need the Rumble to end up facing whoever she's going to be at the champion. However, by her coming back, make sure you make that big statement. But I am interested, if it turns out to be this way, where if she goes against Tiffany Stratton, I think that will be a good thing to see how that builds up. But here's the thing. I think Tiffany Stratton needs to win this WrestleMania moment where she could beat a big time performer like Charlotte with the accolades that she has to make sure she is legitimized as a women's champion. I think Tiffany needs that. I think Tiffany needs Charlotte more than Charlotte needs that Mania match. When it comes to the men's side with Jey Uso, that caught me by surprise. I thought it was going to be CM Punk because I thought this was going to be the automatic way where he can end up to his title at Mania, or not just the title, just being in the main event, which he's talked about for years, never main event in WrestleMania, which I thought the match he had against Taker, that probably was his best match to main event WrestleMania at that time, but it did not do that. But Jey Uso was a surprise for me. This is somebody that has been over for so long as far as the charisma, the crowd, the things of that nature. And just the reaction of like, wow, we didn't expect this. But I think Saturday night's main event kind of hurt him right before this Royal Rumble because, okay, he just had a world title match. He did come close, but he loses. I think if you did not have him against Gunther at that Saturday night main event, then you have a different outcome like, oh, wow, I love this because now you're going to have an opportunity for him to win the championship, but he just had a match. And that's how you got to be careful how you rebook Saturday night main event. Now it's just becoming a glorified house show, which you thought it was going to be something as a good alternative to a PLE, but not being a PLE, if that makes sense. I'm not mad at him winning, but you have to be very careful how you book him because you can end up booking him like Alberto Del Rio when he won the Royal Rumble. You can end up booking him like Shinsuke Nakamura when he won the Rumble. And even though Alberto Del Rio did become a world champion, both of those are two examples of you had a Royal Rumble moment, but it never capitalizes for them being in the main event. So just making sure you just got to be careful with him. I'm not mad about him winning, but you really got to be careful about how you book him and who you book him against.
Okay, so you're going Charlotte is a no, and Jey is a maybe, is what I'm getting.
Yeah, I would say that Charlotte, like, not mad, just long as, Tiffany gets to capitalize it. But Jey Uso, it has to be to be seen. It's like to be continued because I have more to see.
All right, Damian, let's go to you. Did the right people win the Royal Rumble?
In the men's, yes. It was a pleasant surprise, Jey Uso's win, because when it became down to him and Cena, I thought, all right, John's going to get the free pass. Yeah, that's fine. It's John. And then when he took the softest ring exit bump ever and the music started playing, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So they really are going all in with main event Jey Uso. That's not just a moniker. He's actually going to be in a main event potentially of a major PLE with a chance to win the actual title, which is why I want him to pick Cody. But that's beside the point. So it was, and another thing that made it a good choice was because we complained for years that WWE didn't push different talent to go into the main event scene. The main event scene in the men's division is really top heavy. Seth, Punk, Drew, Priest, just to name a few, right? So we have a real top heavy main event men's scene. So why not throw a wild card and just say, surprise, we've been calling this guy the main event for a long time now. The crowd loves him. The merch sales are probably another indicator of just how much the crowd loves him. And yeah, I get the complaints about the 4 moves of doom, super kick ripoff party. I get that. But the crowd reaction, people dressing up like him in full Jey Uso gear like they did for Cena circa 2008, 2009.
That man is selling some sunglasses and some t-shirts for sure.
All off of one catchphrase that I believe he said while drunk with Cody on a post-game show. Yeet. So the fact that he was able to captivate an audience with the term, that's not even the term that he's using it for, because yeeting means throwing something, head over that way.
Yeah, I thought it was a verb.
Yeah, it's a verb. So it's like chucking something, but I'm very pleasantly surprised. Now, Charlotte, WWE all but put it on the billboard before the Rumble happened that she's going to be the winner.
The Queen is back.
The Queen is back. I'm royalty. I thought she was going to do the new Carmella gimmick where she's like the most beautiful woman in WWE, but the regal pop she got, the fireworks, she was the one that made the most sense, even though I didn't agree with it, because look at the main event women's scene. Also top heavy, but They have been floating around for a while. Bianca's been floating around with Naomi and Jade. Bailey's been losing every so often to Nia, putting on good matches, but putting people over. The rumor, it's going to be Io versus Rhea at some point, potentially at Mania. Liv Morgan just dropped the title, so potentially her and Raquel are going to win the tag titles. So everyone's already sectored off. But when you think about the lower mid-card of the women's division, who else would you have picked? What? The Pure Fusion Collection, the PFC? Zoe Stark? No. Zelina for Mania? No. So it made sense, and also it has been said, and I agree, box office, right? Charlotte Flair, for all the warts that the IWC has against her, she is box office. She has been in a WrestleMania main event when she did that three-way with Ronda and Becky. So this is not new to her. Plus, we know people can't stand her. So if it is Tiffany, and she does pick Tiffany over, who I'm not a fan of regardless, it's at least the passing of the torch to a new star. For instance, Bailey putting over younger talent already. We already know Becky's done that when she was on the way out, putting over Rhea. So why not Charlotte? Why not be the last horsewoman to put somebody over for this new generation of female athlete that's coming up in WWE? So as I said, yay on Jey Uso, on Charlotte, but I see why they did it.
All right, giant crab.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and because I'm out of practice, how do they figure out which title they will fight for at WrestleMania?
There's a grand announcement.
They'll choose, and then whichever one they don't pick, they'll decide via Elimination Chamber on March 1st.
Okay,
so they're both still up in the air. They get to pick,
or NXT, because went to NXT.
They call their shot essentially.
Right.
Okay. Lame, but okay. So with the women's division, because full disclosure, I didn't watch the Royal Rumble. I peeked at it. It was interesting. I liked the presentation of it. I liked the lower third where it had, different tidbits about what was happening.
Yeah.
Definitely had an ESPN feel to it, giving you live updated information so that because each match has got to be an hour long. So even if you didn't, you took a bathroom break or whatever, you can just easily figure out where you are in the match. Really good stuff. Do that again. As far as did the right people win? Well, for Jey Uso, ever since what was that Backlash in Paris or Lyon or somewhere in France?
Yes.
And for whatever reason, kind of took whatever he was doing to the next level. He's been on a rise through that time because he was already on the up, but he's been on a rise through that time, and it hasn't really stopped. So yes, why not him? For Charlotte, well, I mean, realistically, there's no reason for Charlotte in WWE anymore. Not even my bias against her aside, there isn't just anything there for her. It's the similar. They already have one retirement story with Cena doing his thing, which I also think is smart because what they're going to do is give you Cena the 3 or 4 opportunities that he has to make it to the WrestleMania or to the title match of WrestleMania, because there's 2 spots to that title match and not one. So maybe he loses the Elimination Chamber, but then he wins, a consolation match or whatever. They can do whatever they want. But it gives you, since he's only going to do 3 or 4 matches before WrestleMania anyway, it would make sense for them to string that along as it is his retirement, special. He's not going to be there every week. He's only going to be there in relevant times to build up the match for the pay-per-view. He's already struck out once. He may strike out again. And then, what will the rest of the year look like if Cena doesn't make, the Mania championship match?
It's a year-long retirement tour.
Right. So, and the retirement's still going to go on. So now he's just in lame duck territory if he doesn't make it to a main event WrestleMania title match. So really smart to do that. And so, yeah, and obviously, why not Jay? It just makes sense on paper. With Charlotte, the way Damian described it, and I'm not going to disagree with him because they kind of booked themselves into a corner. They don't really have anybody that's available that should be in that spot because everybody has their dance partner already for the next couple of months. They're in a program already. Charlotte just came back, and for whatever the fuck reason, and this is a you problem, fans out there that like to hate her, so you hate watch, which means that the ratings still stay the same. If you don't like it, turn it off. But here you go. You would rather watch and boo and hate yourself for it in the morning. Damn you. This is all on you. You have Charlotte with nothing to do, and they know, for better or worse, she's going to bring eyeballs to the table. So I really don't think that there's anything in WWE for Charlotte. It's not Andrade. I heard they broke up. So then what exactly is it there for her? And then she's going to go through another title run. Okay, fine. Now what? And then she loses. And there's just nothing of consequence there. The match is flat out of the gate, unless you really love Charlotte or Tiffany or both. But it's just kind of like meh already. And that's really based on the fact that Charlotte's just kind of a lame duck there.
Interesting. Yeah. See, the part that I thought was interesting with Charlotte is the one thing I noticed with her return and her time in the Royal Rumble. They seemed to make a big point. I don't know if this was her or them or what, but she was gravitating to the new faces that were in the ring that would be fresh opponents for her. You saw her interacting with Roxanne. You saw her interacting with Jordan Grace. They made a big point of when she was out there, Julia. That was another one. They made sure she got rubs with new people that she's never done stuff with before. So I will give her that with her being out so long with that knee injury, it's given time for a bit of a new crop of people to start popping up that she's never interacted with before. So for the first time in a long time, there are matchups that we haven't seen Charlotte in. Whereas before, I think it was a lot of just God damn, she's took on everybody. She's run roughshod over everybody. It's who's left for Charlotte? And now it's okay, there are some people.
Okay, let me since you just mentioned it, let me counter that with a theory.
Bring it on.
Do you think that they use Charlotte as a springboard for Julia in her in that match? Because obviously the match would be on the pay-per-view and not at Stand to Deliver, which is at 4 a.m. the previous morning. Do you think WrestleMania night 1, just go with me, Charlotte versus Julia for the NXT title because Charlotte wants all the belts or whatever the case is, whatever her reason is, whether she wins or lose is irrelevant because it brings Julia to the dance, who arguably does not need NXT.
If they hadn't already told that story with Charlotte before, where they did the year she chose Rhea in NXT,
correct.
I'd say yes, but they've already told that exact story. So that's the one problem with that for me. So the Tiffany match, I think is just going to be, I think that's what happens. I can't imagine her not going to do her and Tiffany. And it feels like it's going to be the passing of the torch of this is our new, younger version of Charlotte that we have high hopes for. Yep. So that's how I keep seeing that match. I'd be shocked if they don't do her and Tiffany. Now, her and Julia, I absolutely see that match happening at some point. It's just a matter of when. But I don't think it's going to be WrestleMania. I can't see it at WrestleMania.
Now here's the thing.
Yeah.
Does Charlotte retire at WrestleMania?
Nah.
No.
Not
no
coming
way.
back this soon. Nah. If she, for her to come back from that damn knee injury, I mean, from all accounts, her last year has been pretty damn rough. Physically, and now we know on her personal life too. I get the feeling she wants to have a hell of a run and come back and go for a while. And she probably beyond that probably doesn't have much of a plan other than that. If I was
she's pushing 40. There's nothing really for her in WWE as far as her by herself carrying her own weight. I'm not saying that she has to. Obviously, she would have come back for, and who knows what her contract situation is too, right. So there's that. But I wonder if we start to see the transition period from everyday full timer to Natty.
I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though. What we say right now, just right now, Charlotte is the greatest women's wrestler of all time in WWE.
Hell no.
Oh, you shitting me?
But here's the thing: at almost 40, or whatever age you just referenced, and I don't think she would come back to win the Royal Rumble just to put people over for the next year. Like, she still has accolades that I think that she wants to strive for that she's not done yet.
Hasn't
Like
beat Dad's
what?
record yet.
Okay, like
aside from that,
yeah,
nothing else.
like I could see Charlotte, as much as we see, Trish Stratus coming back and things of that nature. Charlotte has a good 5 years left in her to do high profile work, high profile matches every day.
She would have,
But she doesn't. But that means she doesn't need the title.
Injury,
She don't need the title, but it's like, does the title belong on her? Yeah. I'm agreeing with you, but I'm thinking from WWE standpoint. Like,
I get what
if you're trying to, if you're trying to build,
I'm sure
all
from
these next
WWE's
people,
perspective, they're like, we got 2 titles. Her having one of them isn't going to hurt. Hell, 3 if you want to count the NXT title. So her being in the mix.
Follow-up question for y'all.
Yeah.
With what we know, the 2 Rumble winners, right? They're going to main event their prospective matches at Mania. Is that enough sizzle for them to stay one-on-one encounters? Or do we get a Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, Triple H triple threat wrinkle added to it? A Charlotte being added to the triple threat against Becky and Ronda. Do we need that?
With the number of names they have, even with 2 nights, as you mentioned at the beginning, there's a lot of big names that got to find a spot on these shows, even with 2 nights. So I wouldn't be shocked if one of those matches becomes a 3-way. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Which one do you think would be the most logical?
It probably more likely one of the women's matches, I'm thinking.
Same.
Let's see. Adrian Arco's checking in here. Charlotte needs to make stars out of the next generation of women. That is the kind of the big point that I think everyone's kind of agreeing on, Adrian. We're not like, not saying it. I think it's just a matter of when and how soon. And I think with her being out, the plan's going to be to reestablish her. Because like you said, they were really hyping up this return. With her being like, they're really playing up that queen deal with her.
But even
the queen has to get her throne back first. I think it's step 1.
Even going with Adrian Arco's point, is Bayley doing that now? So are we having 2 stars doing that? Because look what Bayley is doing, on NXT. Yeah, and what she's doing. So are we having both of them do the same thing now?
Send Charlotte to Evolve.
We'll get to that.
That's an idea. Hey.
But another reason also why I think the women's match might have a slot for a 3-way is because we don't know if Charlotte's knee can handle the rigors of an actual one-on-one match and not a gimmick match like the Royal Rumble.
I was nervous for her in the Rumble.
Saying she might have to do a 25-minute marathon. Can she do it on that surgically repaired leg? Will she have ring rust? Would it make more sense to have a 3rd person in there to share the load, to take the extra bump so she doesn't have to, even if it winds up she still wins, but just to alleviate the fact that she may not have a strong enough knee for a one-on-one encounter.
Right quick, since we've been spending all this time on Charlotte, on the other side of the coin, Jey Uso. We talked at the beginning about how he just had the match with Gunther on Saturday night's main event. They did the whole near miss deal. He couldn't beat him, and how Sellers was saying the timing for that didn't feel right, being so soon before the Royal Rumble. I kind of see that, but at the same time, I think the story here is going to be WrestleMania is not till late April. It's the latest WrestleMania ever, so we have a lot of time between now and then to build up Jey. Is anyone think Jey is going to go after anyone other than Gunther? Is there any chance of Jey and Cody? I think
that's my guess, because remember, his main event push kind of started while he was teaming with Cody, and they had the drunken press conference. Yep. And he's also a former member of the Bloodline.
Yep.
And Cody's wrestled a Bloodline member 2 years in a row. And if Cody turns heel, Homelander Cody, babyface Jey, Homelander Cody.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm agree with you, Damien, because I don't think we need to see Jey Uso versus Gunther again. Once again, even though, like you said, well, this is the latest WrestleMania, late April. We don't need to see that again. And it's very intriguing of how this can take place. Because I thought CM Punk was the only reason why he needs the title for that main event, but I don't think he needs the title for the main event. I think Jay, if you want to propel him to really have a mega moment, why not throw him at Cody? Because Cody's right now throwing shades of heel-ish behavior, but it's not going there. It's like you're teasing the sprinkles about what he's doing. Like even at the end of the match that we talked about with, or that was mentioned with Kevin Owens, what Cody kind of did at that match was a little heel-ish. So if you have Jey Uso, once again, that's one thing I think Jay needs to do. He needs to improve on his mic skills of what he needs to do to make him a legitimate like world title holder. I wouldn't be mad if you throw him at Cody, and maybe that's the start of a feud where you have Cody as a heel and then Jay as a mega babyface. Even if it's a short-term feud where he loses the title in 2 or 3 months, but I'm not mad at it if he goes against Cody.
Jay and Cody. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think obviously between the two, I would prefer Cody over Gunther because just for the simple fact that I don't necessarily need Gunther to lose the belt right now because that would have to be a possibility. Cody has done what he needed to do. He doesn't necessarily need a belt right now. And then, of course, if Jay does beat Cody and has the Universal title, then that obviously sets up Jay versus Roman, who would want his belt back. So it's a and then you have Solo out there in the weeds, being a thing. So you could have a full out family affair, come Survivor Series or whatever they want to do in the fall. So it's a they could definitely do something with the family and make it a true bloodline main event. I think that Gunther still has more to go, and if he loses the belt, what does he do? What does he do after that? And obviously, it would be a step backwards and then a step forward, but there's not too many. He's not that far from the top,
right?
So, do we see Gunther becoming the undisputed champion at some point? He's world heavyweight champion. What does he do now? So, until they have a plan for him after the fact, I think Jay versus Cody is the match that I would rather see. Just because of the bigger implications going forward.
It's the more intriguing match of the two. I think it's the way I'd put it right now. Now, where we're going to stand come April, who knows? But I think it's definitely the more intriguing match. Also, I think it's the more unlikely of the two. Cody's out, like Damien was saying, Cody's got to do a switch up for that one to happen. So, I don't know. We'll see. Interesting. I mean, we didn't really get to talk really about it since we were talking so much about the Royal Rumbles. Cody and Kevin Owens. That was a hell of a damn ladder match with the damn finish. I think made a ton of people scream. KO took that damn Alabama slam like almost through the rung of the ladder and like folded himself up. It was a hell of a stiff damn performance there between those two. So Royal Rumble overall, a hell of a show to kick off Mania season. So we're just about at our halftime. So let's do this. We'll take our halftime break. When we come back, we got to talk about the big thing that happened right after we went on winter break, Raw on Netflix. We're a month into this. We got to take a look at this because it is a whole different world now with Raw on Netflix. So we'll get into that. And then WWE Evolve, a whole new situation going on down there. We'll talk about that and so much more. Stay with us, folks. Your Big Old Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait, reach out today and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, biggoldbelt.com.
Thanks so much for being with us here tonight for our season 5 premiere, folks. We are back and better than ever, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast here each and every Thursday night. Normally, we were doing the WWE ID segment here. We're not going to do that tonight because things are a-changing with that program, and we'll talk about that a little bit later.
They've evolved.
Instead, yes, perfect. They have evolved, and we will be getting into that later on in the show, so stay tuned. In place of that, we're going to talk about Raw on Netflix, because we were counting down to this for months before we went on winter break. It has come, and it's been about a month now. I think we've had 4 episodes, maybe 5. 4 sounds about right to me for this past week since they have made the move to Netflix, and this has been quite the change. This has been quite the change, and I think the biggest thing I've noticed with this move to Netflix is it sounds like, and it seems like, I don't know if it's maybe more just on people's radar, but I think, a big part of this move everyone's thinking is like, okay, they're moving to streaming. They're going to be on the biggest streaming platform there possibly can. They'll be on the front page there and all this. And it seems to me like it's raised the profile of just visibility of the company. And then timing that up with, the new year, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania season, the timing of this, I don't think could have been any better. That first episode was just, not even like, a lot of people complained about the first episode not having a whole heck of a lot of wrestling. It was a lot of bells and whistles. It was sparkly. It was shiny. It was new. It was tons of drone shots and special effects. But that first episode was all about, wow factor. And since then, it has become more your typical Monday Night Raw deal. So, yeah, it's, I don't know. I think overall, it's a very slick production is how I would describe Raw on Netflix 1 month in. Who wants to get in here first? What's the impressions? What's the feel? We're a month into this. How are we feeling about Raw on Netflix? Sell us out, Heck. We'll start with you again, as we did you last time.
Yeah, one of the things I would just say is just the timing has been perfect. One of the things, like, of course, I know we're slated for 3 hours, where of course that overall was from 8 to 11. You had to do the hard stop at 11. But the timing has been perfect because sometimes it's been like 2 hours and 20 minutes and went 2 hours and like 35 minutes. The time has just been perfect where you say, okay, we got our intro, we got our in-between matches. And then when it's time for the main event, I'm looking, oh, it's about 9:50. The main event's about to come. Okay, we got some time, but sometimes it can be dragged on a little bit, like when we had and I mean dragged on, not in a bad way, but the CM Punk and Sami Zayn match. I thought that was like just paced appropriately for, okay, when it's time to done. I didn't feel like I wasted any time. And I think that because you're on Netflix and you see how things are timed, it's like everything's just been flowing very well. Now, one of the things I think that is going to become a problem, because it is time like that, and maybe have 2 hours and 20 minutes and 2 hours and 30 minutes, you still have a lot of talent that you haven't featured yet on Netflix. And I know some of this is done with the transfer window and things of that nature, but we got to figure out how to get them on. But really, the timing has been kind of cool. And I kind of mimic the timing of how they changed their PLE style, where you have like those 5 matches and you time it that way. And they're using Raw like that on Netflix. But it's been very interesting on the timing, which I've really appreciated.
Now, personally, I have not seen it because I don't have Netflix. I will say, though, that from what I'm hearing, it's been a bit of a learning curve for people that don't are used to like a static show, 3 hours, 8 to 11:05, 8 to 11 with a little bit of an overrun, or here's a match and these are the commercial breaks around at that point. I did watch a little bit of the first episode, and one of the things that I did was I pulled up an international stream and then watched it on my sister's Netflix account. So on the international stream, you could see how they went to commercial and then came back in the same way that they would have for every international broadcast that I've seen before. On the American broadcast, they had a brief, commercial for whatever it was, whether it was a Netflix thing or a WWE thing, and then or and then went back to programming. Sometimes when they couldn't fill that space, maybe they had like a 30-second WWE promo or something like that, or they went live to the ring or backstage to a specific promo that they tried to get off within the 2.5 minutes when they had a longer commercial break. So like that stuff was interesting, and those are the things that you're really missing if you don't have an international Netflix account or if you aren't watching from overseas. Nothing major, nothing, but it is content.
You get some nice Easter eggs is about what you get.
Yeah, basically. It is content. And of course, hearing the commentary flow through, during the break, the pause, and then into break, and then back to the show, that stream of consciousness continues throughout the commercial break. So that's really all that you're missing. As far as the show goes and the presentation goes, this is exactly what we talked about a few years ago. We said if WWE gets their stuff together and starts to, look at the entirety of the roster, they finally get NXT together and have that gel with whatever the rest they're trying to do with the main roster. And you think about it, over the past maybe 3 years, we've been doing this thing. This is season 5. So over the past 3 or 4 years, we haven't mentioned the main roster call-up fears anymore. We haven't mentioned, the demotion to NXT anymore. These aren't things that we worry about because of slowly and surely WWE has really been getting their stuff together. Yes, the global localization that they tried to pull off didn't necessarily work, but they're literally doing it right now on Netflix, working with these other companies in a way that allows them the curated talent that they want without the expense of opening an office overseas. So they don't have to run the UK scene anymore and galvanize it when they can just have a partner in France. And we're seeing more shows overseas than ever before. So, and they're cutting down on the number of pay-per-views, streamlining these shows so that you don't have a 7-hour show anymore. It's over 2 nights. And they're really, really, really batting not 100 if they're not batting 1,000. And that's very scary to see what it looks like when they actually pull it off and get it together. That's why they've been, the centerpiece of wrestling culture in North America for 75 years. And, for whatever the specific reason you want to argue that why they're able to do it at this level right now is what it is. But, hats off to them, because the Netflix thing went off without a hitch. The shows and the storylines and the content, nobody's arguing about that. It hasn't been the nepotism or that's a Vince guy or that's a whatever. You don't know who a Triple H guy is, right? Because you had so many people from different outlets. You don't know who's going to show up. And then of course, they have the YouTuber guy, whatever his face is, Petey, somebody. He came in there and got speared by Braun Breaker. Them embracing
show speed.
Sure, whatever the hell his name is. But the idea is they're embracing all facets of media. The only thing they aren't doing is writing books anymore. But I'll be damned if they want to start up a book club and people show enough interest, they'll get back on that too. But seriously, they're on Twitter. Candice LeRae is your speed champion. They're on the CW. NXT is, you're cooking with gas. They're on Netflix. They're on Peacock. They're streaming everything. Whatever it is, it's probably the most cohesive WWE has been since the mid 80s.
Right.
It's everywhere and anywhere, and soon to be on Tubi, as we'll talk about in a bit.
Exactly. And their growth, global localization. Damn it! It is not the corporate jargon people wanted to hear. But it is the thing that they needed to do at the time.
Damien, get in here.
Yeah, I'll just be brief because Crab hit a lot of the points I was going to make about the globalization portion. I'll keep it to the in-ring portion seems, because I've cherry-picked it since the first episode, but the in-ring portion doesn't feel as run-of-the-mill Raw, going through the motions, singles and tags, as it's been in the past. For instance, Penta's debut match and the last couple of matches, they weren't squashes, but both parties looked great. They both looked crisp. Everyone he's wrestled has looked really good in a losing effort.
Talk about making color out of the gate.
Right. And that, I think, is because of Netflix, because you have this worldwide audience that everyone all over the world, you don't need USA, you just need to have a streaming service. And you saw this new Latino superstar just pop up on your screen, selling merch and all that good stuff. So for me, the in-ring portion, and we could even go with the first one with Seth versus Punk, where even though they took it easy for what we're used to them doing, or at least what we're used to Seth doing, that still left us with a good match. It reminds me of, remember when they tried to make main event, not Saturday night's main event a thing on, I think, FX.
Yep.
And they had that one really good match, that banger match, that it was treated like if it was a PLE. I feel as if a lot of the Netflix matches are starting to fit that vibe, where we're not just going through the motions. We are literally putting on quality matches to get new people to come see this, right? Because that's one of the things we talked about at the beginning of all this, was the retention and getting new people on something like Netflix. Are you going to get them to pay the $17? And by all accounts, WWE is now bringing in new fans because we're seeing the crossover of mainstream entertainment again during Rumble season and Mania season, the internet, and now streaming. So good on them for taking a shot. I didn't think it would be this well put together thus far. I will say my biggest issue is just with Netflix in general. They really need to start solve the buffering issues. Doesn't matter where.
You've been having buffering? I haven't been having any.
It was terrible Monday. It was terrible.
Monday was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Monday. It was glitchy. It was glitchy Monday, but what was happening Monday, from at least what I was seeing, I wasn't having any buffering. I think it was issues with the broadcast going out. It seemed like everybody was getting it. Yeah, it was the feed that was being sent out.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that's not so much a Netflix thing than it is a WWE thing.
Yeah,
but
I think it was a WWE issue on Monday.
But long term, that would always be my main issue, as I've brought up on the show before, is can Netflix handle the bandwidth if everybody wants to jump on and watch Raw at the same time, even though you can watch it whenever, still like, hey, go, you got to watch this Pentagon match while it's happening. All right, let's go check it out. So that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I haven't seen, like, of course, we know we talked about when the Tyson Paul fight happened and just how Netflix could not handle that at all. But like the NFL worked fine on Christmas Day. I haven't seen any spinning wheel of buffering since I've been watching it on Netflix. That's what I've been watching for and worried about. And hell, I'll throw this out. I'm going to throw them a bone on this with the Netflix move. Something that's been really smooth and really nice in comparison. So the night of Royal Rumble, my daughter had a piano recital. And this 6 o'clock start time was not going to work. I was not going to be home to after 8 o'clock. So I started noodling it through in my head. I'm like, God damn it. Peacock don't have a watch from beginning option. Peacock don't have that at all. Peacock, you come on the stream and it's there. And then when the show ends, Peacock usually isn't post to the next day. So right away, I was like, I got to get on that damn international Netflix because they'll have watch from beginning. As soon as I get home, I can just go right back to the start and watch it right then. Just avoid spoilers for those 2 hours while I'm out. And sure enough, that's what I did to watch the Royal Rumble. And I'll tell you this, it worked seamlessly. It was perfect. Saw the whole show starting 2 hours late. At one point, it said the broadcast ended. It didn't kick me out even, make me start again. It just kept playing, watched it straight through, got done. And like I saw people as soon as I got done, I went back online, saw people talking about Peacock doesn't have it up yet. And I'm like, Netflix got that system figured out, man. So I'll give Netflix all the props in the world. The user experience is very nice for how they got the WWE Netflix experience set up here. Let's see. We got some people here in the comments talking about some stuff. Let's see what's going on here. What's random Rick reviews here talking about Netflix can only handle the WNBA well. Oof. Well, I'm looking for the buffering. That's my biggest fear. So as long as I don't see buffering, I'm happy. That's my main thing. It helped. I'm not seeing it on the NFL. I don't think you got to worry on WWE, but it was staticky this week. There was some sort of interference on it this week, but I don't think that was Netflix's from the way it was looking to me. So I don't know. Any other thoughts on WWE on Netflix, or is it time to start talking about another streaming platform?
Let's push it.
Let's push it. All right. So the WWE ID program. This has been, we've been watching this. When was this announced? About around November or so? October. It was in the fall that it started up, and we started doing our weekly spotlight of all that. Well, before we went on break, they were starting to have, the matches on the indies. They were starting to do a lot of WWE ID spotlight matches with talent being featured on different shows and all this out there at the various schools that they're partnering with. And then at the Royal Rumble, we got the commercial out of nowhere. Kind of figured this might be coming eventually. But if anything, I think this might be happening a little sooner than I expected. So, March 5th will be the debut. That's a Wednesday night. Yes, indeed, a Wednesday night, 8 p.m. So they are being very tactical in when this is going to be on. But Wednesday night, March 5th, we will have the debut of WWE Evolve, which will feature the ID talent and in-ring rising stars of NXT. Hopefully will one day make it to NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, is how they are describing it. And then the crazy part, this is going to be on Tubi. So yet another streaming platform. And, Tubi, a lot of people like to make jokes about Tubi. But I'll tell you this weekend, Tubi's going to have the Super Bowl. So if you were looking to stream the Super Bowl this weekend, Tubi is the place for that. So Tubi is
Tubi's owned by Fox. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. There's weight behind. It's not just, some random, streaming service. So Tubi's going to have the Super Bowl this weekend, and come March, it will have WWE Evolve on Wednesday nights. So Crab, since you were the ones always doing the WWE ID segment for us, what are our thoughts on this? WWE Evolve on Tubi, of all things.
So, I mentioned a bit ago about the cohesiveness of WWE and how it's the most gelled the company's been since the mid-'80s. Mm-hmm. And this is another, thing to that. So you have the main roster, cool. You have NXT, cool. And then you have the Evolve show, which is a precursor to NXT. So no matter how you slice it, there is something for you under the umbrella of WWE. If you want to see the quote unquote biggest superstars, Netflix and Peacock, USA Network got you. Mm-hmm. If you want to see the ones that are bubbling, then cool. NXT is on Tuesdays, you got you. But if you want that indie feel with a WWE polish, I would assume that you're gonna find your way to the Tubi app, because I couldn't imagine it being anything other than that. This should be the super indie. This will be not necessarily the indie killer per se, because of the fact that they don't have a big enough roster to just run the show as is. But, it's going to be interesting to see how it gels with what the vision is. How long will people stay down there? It's almost like baseball at this point, where WWE is the major leagues, NXT is AAA, and then you have Evolve, which is, single A, the Florida Golf Course League. But the point is that these kids are coming straight out of high school and college, and they're getting picked up by dear old Gabe, and Gabe's going to get them right, and then hopefully send them off to NXT. So will we see these other indie promotions that we would normally see on ITV or see on Triller or whatever, Fight TV? Will they start showing Beyond matches? As a part of the Evolved, suite? Will it be that, or will it just be an Evolve branded show? I wonder because they have those feeder schools that they're working with, and I wonder how much of their content will trickle into Evolve as well, especially since there's not much tape on these guys from the WWE end. So it's an interest. This is actually the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. It was, why I like Dark so much in AEW. We know who's going to be there, but it's an opportunity to legitimately be surprised by people that you may not know. You don't know what you're going to get. So I like it. Bring it on.
Yeah, I think another part of it that's going to be interesting, a lot of people might be missing here. I saw at least a few people commenting about this sort of right off the gate. They were like, it's on another streaming service. I don't want to have to get another streaming service. Tubi's free.
Tubi's
There is
free.
no charge for Tubi. The only thing they're doing this weekend with the Super Bowl is they're making people actually get an account.
Yep.
But there is no charge to subscribe to Tubi. So it's kind of the equivalent of back in the day having your show on in a syndication. It's just, the streaming version of it. But there's going to be no barrier of entry here to watching on Tubi. So I guess there was talk that they might have put this show on YouTube, but I think they're being very tactical with the idea of, hell, we already got Speed on Twitter, and they have plenty of stuff on YouTube with the Vault channel and all that. It's like they want to be on all platforms they can possibly be on. So I'm sure Tubi was a very specific move to be like, all right, let's get a show on Tubi. We got stuff on Twitter. We got stuff on CW. They want to be anywhere and everywhere they can.
Whoever's leading like the business development department of WWE deserves a raise because this has been their year.
Yeah.
The person or that group of people that's been in charge of growing the business side of the company has done a hell of a job because they are everywhere that you think they can be in the US. I don't know what it looks like outside of the country, but if you have a decent internet connection, you have access to WWE.
Yeah.
Full stop. But
now, I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
I'll be quick. As a person who used to go to Evolve back in New York at La Boom all the time, I'm glad it's back. Great tacos. I'm glad it's back. One. Number two, good on Gabe for still sticking around and still being relevant in professional wrestling.
He finally got a WWE show after all these years.
I saw that. I saw that. After 12 years, he finally got one. But no, when they canceled Level Up, right, that pre-NXT show that they had, this was to set the stage for Evolve. This is the new Level Up. As we were saying before, the newbies, for lack of a better term, are now going to start at Evolve to get their shine on, to get the ring rust out. Maybe these new in the ID, but the NIL kids could probably be featured on this as well to potentially get more eyes on the product than what we already have. So at the very least, I'm glad there's going to be another outlet that people don't have to be rushed to the CW on NXT to be this finished product and then rush to the main roster. So to Crab's point, to use baseball, this is going to be high A, low double A. And I'm looking forward to see, one, how bad some of these matches might be, or two, because or two, just pleasant surprises. Like, okay, I got to keep my eye on this person, i.e. the ID portion of it all. Yeah. I mean, I know Crab's not going to like it if Kylie Ray shows up on Evolve, but, if we'll see some other things, that's fine. But I'm looking forward to it. It's Tubi. I didn't even know it still existed until I turned my TV on the other day to play my Super Nintendo. I did not know Tubi was still a thing. So kudos to them for still sticking around.
Yeah. Before we go to sales, I'll throw in real quick here. It's been a long time when you think about it since NXT has really been a developmental show. It has not been developmental for a very long time. Not the TV show itself. The developmental stuff's been happening behind the scenes. But this is going to be an actual developmental TV show again, compared to how NXT used to be. Right back in the Full Sail days is what this will be more apropos to. Celis, go ahead.
So one of the things I want to add to it is not only do you have this on Tubi, but we haven't spoken about the new, I would guess, Tough Enough that's coming on A&E, well as LFG, where WWE is using this as an avenue. I have to say, like a Tough Enough. We don't know the full details of, at least I don't know the full details of it yet, but I'm wondering if you're going to make this connection for them to, let's say, if they make it out, a top 2, top 3 performer, they have a live match that will come on Evolve. So that's another way that you could break in more wrestlers to this. And in a way, like we mentioned before, this could be the way where it's like now you're the indies killer because now you're taking all the streaming avenues. You got Netflix, got Tubi, you got Peacock, where it's like you can get all these different avenues to see all these type of up and coming wrestlers and where they'll be to be successful. I really like to see where they're going, but I'm wondering also, how long is this show going to be? Is it going to be 1 hour? Is it going to be 2 hours? Or are you going to have some type of champion that's going to be on this now, where you have an Evolve champion or World Evolve champion or things of that nature? Like, what is going to be like the top tier that people will shoot to? And then also, what type of legends, current main roster players will just show up randomly from time to time on Tubi? And I think that could be a great impact just to build these performers up. So I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. This is something I'm actually looking forward to watch on Wednesdays.
There we go. We got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to throw this out here since it was something I forgot about, the newsworthy that happened in between our break and now. We can go around about real quick. So, the WWE TNA partnership now is official. It's real. Or I guess maybe more NXT TNA. But we're at the point now where it's straight up, there's NXT people appearing on TNA pretty much every Thursday night. And heck, this past Tuesday on the CW, Fandango returned for the first time in ever and immediately then switched it up and went by his TNA name. So now that it's no longer like, kind of a loose thing, now that it's official, they put it on paper, they put out a press release that they're officially working together. How are we feeling about the NXT TNA sister promotion deal they got going on?
I mean, again, the cohesion.
Yeah.
The cohesion. They're able to get the content that they want for half of the effort.
Yeah.
They don't have to go out there and decimate a territory and just buy up everybody and spike contracts and stuff like that. Like, no, we know this guy can work. He already has a following, already has a presence, blah, blah, blah. That's exactly how they did that's exactly how they're getting the NIL kids. That's exactly how they're IDing folks. They know who they want in TNA because they either have a history of them or they have the tape on them. Everybody else, they're getting these ready-made packages for everybody, and it totally makes sense. And they're able to just insert these pieces where they need to, and then move on where they need to. It's borderline evil how good it is.
Get Joe Hendry in the Royal Rumble. We forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah.
He got to make his appearance as TNA champion on there.
I would say just switch TNA to Thursdays, and then you literally have Monday through Friday.
Doesn't it come on Thursdays?
Correct.
Yeah, it's on right now.
No, never mind. It's on Thursdays now.
Thursdays 8 to 10.
Now you got WWE booked every day of the weekday, for some type of wrestling event where if you want to see something Monday through Friday that's WWE related, it's there. It's there. I mean, it's just not monopolizing, because when you think about monopolizing, you think that in a negative term, but it's this real business savviness that they're doing right now, and they're killing it. And honestly, and I'll go ahead and say this, it's making me forget about AEW more and more.
Oh yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. I haven't
We
watched
haven't mentioned them
AEW.
once in an hour.
Yeah, since this has happened, this partnership, I have been watching more TNA, and I'm pleasantly surprised with everything that's been happening. Yeah, Joe Hendry's great and all, but I was just curious to see who else was going to pop in, and the fact that I'm tuning in to TNA when for years, y'all know this, when it was Hootie, y'all couldn't get me to watch it whatsoever. So
yep. Adrian telling us Fraxium versus the Nemeth brothers for the tag titles tonight. They're doing NXT title matches on Impact as like a thing on a regular basis now. Because they had Fraxium already down there once defending the tag titles
against the Rascals.
It's interesting times. It's interesting times. It's fun to see. I like anything that gets NXT folks outside of the Performance Center and in front of actual different crowds. And thankfully they're doing that every month now. They were just at Center Stage. They're going to be here in DC in a couple weeks. It's like they seem to be making every effort in the world to get NXT out and get those people outside that building as much as possible, which we've been saying they need to do it forever. But now it's like we're really seeing it. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. I mean, again, I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again. It's a bit scary once they have their stuff together, how good they can actually be as a company. And it is interesting to see where they'll go from there. Now, of course, we said this a couple years ago, 5 or something years ago. AEW has come in and have given the wrestling fans that have been looking for this particular thing exactly what they wanted. Point, counterpoint. What does WWE go from here? Their shit is stale. NXT is looking different. What are all these colors for? And then now
I remember that.
How the tables have turned, 3-4 years later, AEW is playing second fiddle. Impact is leveling up. The indies are not going anywhere, full stop. If you want to see that, indies. They are absolutely there for you. And honestly, in AEW, a lot of their people are making bigger names doing things outside of the company. Monet is going to be in House of Glory in a couple weeks. Ricky Starks has been doing indie stuff. Like Moxley's been doing Bloodsport and so on and so forth. So it's just kind of like, Khan, you first checked WWE. They have checked back. The ball is in your court. What do you do?
2 times.
Definitely something to talk about next week. That's for sure. That's for sure. We had a lot of ground to cover this week to get caught up, but we did it. And we're glad we did it. And we're glad we're back, folks. Season 5 off to a big start here for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. So as I said at the beginning, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. is when we stream live, just like we did tonight. We're so glad you're here with us, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch or over on X, wherever you're catching the live stream. It is there. It will be on YouTube later on tonight, living on in posterity. So if you want to rewatch the show or if you joined us late, the video stream lives on. And of course, the audio version will be up in podcast form later tonight, each and every week on all your favorite podcast forms. Let's see. Let me run down all the plugs here. See, it's been a while. I got to remember how to do all this. Okay. So on social media, of course, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether we're talking X, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, all those damn things at Big Gold Belt right there. Of course, on the interwebs, it's biggoldbelt.com. We stream the show at biggoldbelt.com/live. So that's another option to stream it live. And of course, Big Gold Belt Media is your home for wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Crab, what you got a recommendation for? Something you've been watching that outside the box?
Well, no, not outside the box per se, but there are a couple movies in theater that are definitely worth your attention. Companion is weird as hell, so if you like a good weird movie,
I've been hearing about that one.
Yeah, that's definitely for you. It's Chinese New Year, so there's a ton of imports coming in from the East. Kingdom of the Creation of the Gods Part 2, Demon Force just came out last weekend here. Absolutely bananas. Definitely complements the first movie. You don't need to see the first movie to understand the second one. It would help if you because it is bell to bell, batshit crazy. Unlike anything that I've seen before. Disney, don't watch this movie. You will cry. It is very, very, very upsetting if you're a Marvel fan, because this is Avengers level shenanigans going on. Detective Chinatown 1900 was pretty interesting. But you could probably wait for that to come out on your streaming platform of choice. This coming weekend, Neja Part 2. The first one was amazing. The second one grossed like 1.3 billion yuan, or somewhere around $700 million in China over like the past 6 days. One of the biggest movies of the year, if not of the past few years in China. Also, last thing, Flight Risk, Mel Gibson's movie. If Mel Gibson turns you off, to never see it. But it's actually not as bad as the critics want you to believe it is. It's an hour and a half. It's Mark Wahlberg with a goofy accent. It's actually a bit more fun than it should be. Look for it on Tubi in a couple of weeks. But the bottom line is that, Flight Risk isn't terrible. It's just a bit of fun for, a good 90 minutes.
If you got 90 minutes to kill, it ain't bad.
Yeah, if you got 90 minutes to kill and you like Mark Wahlberg with like a half-shaven head, then it's weird. It's kind of fun. His accent is terrible. But it's I don't know why
what else is new with him?
Yeah,
right?
It's like it's like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience score is like in the upper 60s. A huge swing, but it's not bad at all. So yeah, Flight Risk was fun. A lot of Chinese stuff, a lot of Indian stuff, but yeah, good. It's a good time to see the movies, and of course, because we're on the road to Oscar Mania, everything that's come out last year. You can they will pop up in theaters again from now until the middle of March when the Academy Awards happens. Also, last thing, if you are an ANC Stubs A-list member, your prices will go up. You should have gotten an email today with all the changes. I did. So make sure you check that out to make sure that it's the right value for you. But some things are changing, some good, some bad. But more importantly, it will cost you more. So
new year, new prices. There you go. Big Gold Belt Media, your home for wrestling, movies, comics, and more. Remember, we're more than just wrestling here at Big Gold Belt Media. And you can check all that out at biggoldbelt.com for the full website version of all our reviews and all that stuff. Of course, they're also on the YouTube channel. Like I said, on social medias, it's at Big Gold Belt across the board. Thanks for being with us here tonight, folks. It's good to be back and kick off our season 5. Hit that subscribe button, whatever platform you're watching us on, so you'll know. Get a reminder next week, I should say, next Thursday for 8 p.m. And if not, it lives on YouTube and podcast version, so you can always check it out. So we'll see you then when we see you. And until then, folks, stay safe, and we will talk to you later.